Young and the Restless early spoilers October 27th to 31st. Sally's daring gamble and Daniel's passionate confession. As we always do on early edition day, we start with what's coming the rest of this week, and then we're going to dive into what's next week. Young and the Restless, Sharon distraught and Mariah haunted. So, Wednesday, October 22nd, we have Sharon Newman, Sharon case, telling Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, that Mariah Copeland, Cameron Grimes, said she needs her. Nick encourages Sharon to go be with Mariah in Boston since Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, is unconscious and won't know if she's there or not. Sharon is very stressed out, says 2 of her kids are broken, but she's also very worried that something will happen to Noah if she leaves and she won't be there for him. So Sharon calls Mariah's therapist and talks to her about what's going on and her progress. And then she tells Nick that she's going to stay in Los Angeles. Sharon thinks that Mariah is where she needs to be and is getting the help that she needs. But it doesn't look that way actually because Mariah is hallucinating Ian Ward, Ray Wise, on Wednesday, but she's saying he's dead. She still thinks he's dead. He's not really there. And he says Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, left her. And then Ian says he's all that Mariah has left. Ian's talking about how he's a part of her and he knows her. Mariah says that's not true and calls him a stalker. Ian is saying he adores the evil inside of her, like when she stalked and haunted Sharon years ago. Ian's actually encouraging her to unleash her darkness. Young and the Restless spoilers, Mariah recalls her trauma. Mariah tells Ian how she met a man that reminded her of him, and they drank, they kissed, she went up to his room, and then Mariah tried to kill the guy. Ian says she couldn't kill the guy because she doesn't want Ian dead. He thinks Mariah likes his darkness too. And bear in mind, this is all inside her head. So, these are all the things she's thinking and fearing about herself. Mariah vows she will never be evil like Ian. And Mariah also promises she will never let Ian break her. She says he doesn't matter and she wants him gone. And then Ian suddenly is gone. But the Queen of Hearts card that Tessa had torn apart is now bizarrely whole, which it was when Ian was touching it. So, we're getting supernatural. Really? It's just weird. YandR spoilers, Nick's investigation, and a shocking kiss. Nick calls Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, about this guy, Detective Burrow, Matt Cohen, and also tells her that Noah was getting some calls from this woman, Sienna Bacall Tamara Braun. So Nikki takes the info on Sienna, says she's going to have Victor Newman's, Eric Braden. People check her out. Nick is in tears talking to his mom, saying he doesn't want to go through a tragedy with another kid. And Nikki tells him that suffering is part of life. Daniel and Tessa make out until she stops it, and then she apologizes and says she was overstepping. Daniel and Tessa both admit they've thought about kissing each other. Daniel says that, they'll wake up tomorrow and they can just forget it happened, but they agree they can't really forget. And they take a walk to get coffee to talk it through. Tessa admits she has feelings for Daniel and says that he's important to her. Tessa calls Daniel her best friend, and he tells Tessa he is falling in love with her, but he's tearing up about it. And then Tessa says in another timeline she would be falling for Daniel. But Tessa's not done fighting for her marriage. And Daniel agrees that she should keep fighting for her marriage. Young and the Restless, Kyle's undercover mission. Thursday, October 23rd on Young and the Restless. We have got Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, trying to find out something about Holden Novak, Nathan Owens. So Kyle is spying on Holden, looking for dirt, hoping to convince Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron, to cut the guy out of her life. But I don't think it's going to work out well for Kyle. So, at the hotel restaurant, Holden is talking to Sienna and Kyle is lurking nearby and watching, and Claire walks up and asks, "What the heck is Kyle doing?" And he tries to flip it around and says, "Who's that with Holden and what's he doing?" And of course, Claire knows exactly who that is. Also, on Thursday, Sienna meets with Nick. And I'm sure Nick wants to know if Sienna can tell him anything about who would target Noah and how they know each other. If Sienna does know who is after Noah, the question is, will she tell Nick? So, she called his number 4 times. So, it looks like they are in regular contact and she knew something was wrong. Maybe she was helping him with his project to buy the club there. We'll see. Holden may also know Noah because Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, dated both of them and they have an overlap with Sienna. We'll find out. Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, stuns Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn. We know that Phyllis wants to get her hands on Kane's AI program. Maybe she will try and seduce him out of it. Friday on YandR, Sally's big risk and new alliances. Friday, October 24th on Young and the Restless. We're going to end the week with Sally taking a big risk. She really puts herself out there for Audra. This likely concerns the job offer that Sally gave Audra at Abbott.com. And of course, Sally has had to go begging for investors and talked Jill Abbott, Jess Walton, into it, but she may not want Audra involved. Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, has resigned himself to it, so the pushback may come from Jill. Kyle tries to squeeze information out of Sienna about Holden. I'm sure Kyle is hoping Sienna will give him some dirt, tell him something terrible about Holden, but I can't imagine Sienna is going to tell Kyle anything. Damian, Kane, and Phyllis reach an understanding, and it may be about the AI. You know, he may set some parameters. Next week on Young and the Restless, November sweeps kick off. The week of October 27th through the 31st on Young the Restless is going to be pretty busy. The last 2 days of that week, Thursday, October 30th, Friday, October 31st, are the first 2 days of November sweeps. So hopefully they're going to be building up to big action. Nick is putting all his effort into finding out who tried to kill Noah and why. And he is going to be relentless. Hopefully Nick's going to get some help from Sienna. We also have Roger Howarth's new character due on the scene. Maybe he's the bad guy who's after Noah. You never know. We've also heard Sienna mention her boyfriend Mitch. So that could be who Roger Howarth is playing. Young and the Restless. Danny and Christine's wedding and Kyle's stubbornness. Christine Williams, Laura Lee Bell, and Danny Romalotti Michael Damian can't wait to get married. They are getting married in November sweeps. I can't imagine that Phyllis is going to be a grown-up and stay away from the wedding. I wonder if she's going to mess with Christine's dress. Just typical Phyllis stuff. Holden may offer to help Sharon and Nick get to the bottom of what happened to Noah, which might get him some brownie points with the Newmans and with Claire. It would definitely impress Victor and Nikki. Claire continues to try to get Kyle to go back to Genoa City. But he doesn't listen to her, and he never does what she asks or respects her boundaries. So I can't imagine he'll go. Tessa and Daniel try to protect their friendship and ignore the sparks they're both feeling. And Mariah is looking like she may get a lot worse before she gets better. We'll see if Ian shows up again. Newman Enterprises were buzzing with tension. Rumors about the latest twists in the family's power struggles had everyone on edge, but no one was more anxious than Sally Spectra. The young designer had always been a wild card in Genoa City, and lately, her bold moves had begun to turn heads, both for better and worse. Today, however, she was about to raise the stakes in a way that could change the course of her life forever. Sally had spent the past few weeks meticulously planning. Her target was no less than the pinnacle of fashion influence in the city, taking control of a high-profile campaign that could make or break her reputation. But Sally knew that ambition came with risk. It wasn't just about the clothes or the spotlight, it was about proving to herself, and everyone else, that she could play in the big leagues. In the sleek, glass-paneled offices of Newman Enterprises, Sally sat across from Phyllis Summers. The tension between them was palpable. Phyllis had always been a formidable adversary, and today Sally needed to find a way to convince her that this gamble was worth taking. "Phyllis, hear me out," Sally began, her voice steady despite the racing of her heart. "This campaign, it's risky, yes, but the payoff could be enormous. Not just for me, but for Newman's too. I know you're cautious, but I promise I've thought this through." Phyllis leaned back in her chair, a sly smile playing on her lips. "Sally, darling, you do have guts. I'll give you that. But guts don't always pay the bills. What makes you think this will work?" Sally's eyes blazed with determination. "Because I know this city and I know the people. And more importantly, I know myself. I've never backed down before, and I won't start now." As Phyllis mulled over Sally's audacious plan, elsewhere in Genoa City, Daniel Romalotti was wrestling with a very different kind of storm. His mind had been clouded for weeks by feelings he could no longer ignore. Every time he saw Sally, every time she laughed, or stood defiant against the odds, he felt a pull he could no longer deny. Daniel was ready to lay his heart on the line, but as always, timing was everything, and he needed to choose the right moment. That moment came sooner than he expected. Later that evening, Daniel found Sally at the Spectra Design Loft, reviewing sketches and fabric swatches. The soft glow of desk lamps illuminated her face, highlighting her intensity and focus. Daniel stepped inside, heart pounding. "Sally," he began, hesitating as if the weight of his confession might shatter the fragile calm around them. Sally looked up, startled, but there was a warmth in her eyes that encouraged him to continue. "Daniel, what's wrong?" she asked, sensing the tension radiating off him. "I've been trying to tell you something," Daniel said, taking a step closer. "Something I should have admitted a long time ago." He swallowed hard, searching for the right words. "Sally, I have feelings for you." I know it's complicated with everything going on, but I can't keep pretending they aren't there. You've changed everything for me, in ways I didn't even think were possible. Sally's breath caught. She had always admired Daniel's honesty and integrity, but she never expected this kind of confession. Daniel, she began, but words failed her. For a long moment, the loft was silent, filled only with the hum of the city beyond the windows. Finally, Sally closed the gap between them, her voice soft but firm. Daniel, I felt it too. I just didn't know how to say it. And now, hearing you say it, it changes everything. Their eyes locked, and for the first time in weeks, the tension that had built up around their lives melted away. But romance in Genoa City was never simple. Sally's daring gamble with Phyllis still loomed, threatening to disrupt everything. The next day, she arrived at Newman Enterprises, determined to push her plan forward. She knew she had to convince Phyllis to take the leap, no matter the obstacles. Phyllis, Sally said, entering the office with newfound confidence, I'm ready to do this. I've lined up the team, I've planned every step, and I'm prepared to handle whatever comes our way. All I need is your trust. Phyllis regarded her with a mixture of skepticism and intrigue. You're fearless, I'll give you that. But do you really understand what this could mean? One wrong move, and everything could collapse. Sally leaned forward, her eyes fierce. I understand. And I'm ready. I'm not afraid to take a risk for something that matters. For me. For Newman. And for the future I want to build. Phyllis studied her for a moment, then, with a small but decisive nod, she said, All right, Sally. You've convinced me. Let's see what you've got. Relief and excitement surged through Sally as she realized her gamble had paid off. But as she left the office, her phone buzzed with a message from Daniel. Meet me at the loft tonight. We need to talk. That night, as the city lights glittered below, Sally and Daniel met again, hearts pounding in unison. This time, their connection wasn't just about confessions or professional gambles. It was about a promise of partnership in every sense. Daniel took her hand, his gaze unwavering. Whatever happens with your campaign, Sally, I'm with you. Not just because I love you, but because I believe in you. And together, we can face anything. Sally squeezed his hand, a mixture of joy and determination shining in her eyes. Then let's do it. Together. As Genoa City continued to churn with secrets, lies, and rivalries, one thing was clear. Sally Spectra's daring gamble and Daniel Romalotti's passionate confession had set a new course for both their lives. Ambition and love intertwined, creating a story that no one in the city would soon forget. By the time the sun rose over Genoa City, the stage was set. Sally's audacious plan was in motion, Phyllis had thrown her support behind it, and Daniel had finally revealed the depth of his feelings. But as always in this city, the question lingered. Would their courage pay off, or would the shadows of betrayal and heartbreak catch up to them before they could even take the first step? For now, though, Sally and Daniel could savor the moment. A rare, precious pause in the chaos where love and ambition met, and anything seemed possible. And in a city where surprises lurked around every corner, that might just be the most daring gamble behind the skyline of Genoa City, painting the streets in muted shades of amber and gray. Inside the walls of Newman Enterprises, a storm raged, not of wind or rain, but of emotion. Sharon Newman, usually a picture of resilience and poise, sat slumped at her desk in her penthouse office, staring blankly at the stack of papers that would normally command her attention. Her mind, however, was far from business. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped a framed photograph of her family, her children, her grandchildren, faces frozen in a moment of happiness that now felt impossibly distant. The past weeks had been a whirlwind, with secrets unraveling faster than she could piece them together. Daniel Romalotti's confession, the chaos surrounding Faith, and the ever-present tension with Nick had left Sharon in a fragile, haunted state. She pressed a hand to her forehead, trying to push the spiraling thoughts away. Yet, like shadows that cling to corners, the memories refused to relent. She recalled the heated argument with Nick earlier that day, the accusations flying like daggers, each word carving deep into her already fractured heart. She had tried to explain herself, to make him see that her actions were never meant to hurt anyone. But it was clear that words were no longer enough. Outside the office, the city carried on with its usual hum, oblivious to the inner turmoil of the Newman heir and his family. Sharon's phone buzzed violently on the desk, snapping her out of her reverie. The caller ID read Mariah Copeland. She hesitated for a moment, her chest tightening. She knew that whatever Mariah had to say would only pull her further into the emotional storm. With a shaky breath, she answered. Sharon, Mariah's voice was soft, almost trembling. I don't know where else to turn. The concern in Mariah's voice mirrored Sharon's own inner turmoil. It was rare for Mariah to sound so vulnerable. Usually she was composed, even defiant in her moments of crisis. But now, there was a fragility there that Sharon recognized all too well. "What's wrong, Mariah?" she asked gently, trying to mask her own rising panic. There was a long pause on the other end. Sharon's heart raced. It's everything," Mariah whispered finally. "The memories, the lies, the guilt. I can't get it out of my head, Sharon. I keep seeing him, feeling him, and I don't know if I can breathe through it anymore." Sharon's fingers tightened around the phone. She understood all too well. The weight of past mistakes, the burden of choices that couldn't be undone, had a way of twisting through the mind and heart until it felt impossible to escape. "You're not alone, Mariah," Sharon said softly. "I've been there. I still am some days. But we have to hold on. We have to keep fighting, even when it feels impossible." Mariah's sigh carried the weight of exhaustion, but also a spark of relief. "I don't know how you do it, Sharon. How you keep standing." Sharon let out a small, bitter laugh. "Some days I don't. But then I look at my family, at what we've survived, and I remember why I can't give up. You're stronger than you think, Mariah. You have to be, for yourself, for the people who love you, for the life you want to live." The conversation left both women quiet, lost in thought. Sharon's gaze drifted to the city below, the lights flickering like distant stars. She knew that Mariah's struggles mirrored her own in many ways, the guilt, the haunting memories, the fear of repeating mistakes. And she also knew that this was a crossroads for them both. It was a moment where they could either let the past define them, or fight to reclaim their future. Later that evening, Sharon found herself wandering the quiet streets of Genoa City, the chill of December in the air biting at her skin. Her mind replayed Mariah's words over and over, each repetition a reminder of the fragility of the people she loved, and of herself. She passed by crimson lights, the comforting glow inside tempting her to step in and escape for a while. But something stopped her. She couldn't run. Not tonight. Not anymore. Meanwhile, Mariah sat in the quiet of her apartment, the dim light of the living room casting shadows across her face. She stared at a photo of her own family, her heart aching with memories she couldn't forget. Her eyes blurred with tears as she whispered, "I don't know how to let go, but I have to try." Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Sharon. "We'll get through this together. You're not alone. Not ever." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of a promise, a lifeline thrown across the emotional chasm that Mariah had been teetering over. She typed a reply, fingers trembling. "Thank you, Sharon. I needed that more than I can say." As night deepened over Genoa City, the two women, bound by friendship, by shared pain, and by the unspoken understanding of what it meant to carry burdens too heavy for one person alone, sat in their separate worlds, drawing strength from the invisible thread that connected them. Sharon leaned back in her chair later, staring at the ceiling. She knew the coming days would be difficult. There would be confrontations, confessions, and perhaps more heartbreak. But for the first time in days, she felt a spark of clarity. She was not powerless. She had endured so much before, and she could endure more. Mariah could too. And somewhere deep down, Sharon knew that sometimes the people who had been haunted the longest were the ones most capable of finding light, even if it came in small, flickering moments. In the quiet of their respective homes, as the city slept around them, Sharon and Mariah each made a silent vow. To confront their demons, to face their fears, and to hold on to the fragile hope that love, forgiveness, and resilience could somehow prevail. Because in Genoa City, where lives intertwined in messy, unpredictable ways, hope was never truly lost. It just waited for the brave, the hurting, and the haunted to reach for it. And tonight, Sharon and Mariah, two women battered by the storms of life, had taken their first step toward reclaiming it. The festive facade of bustling streets and glimmering office windows often hides the stormy emotions of its residents. This week on The Young and the Restless, viewers are in for an emotional roller coaster as Mariah Copeland, the spirited and resilient young woman who has weathered her share of storms, finds herself confronting the ghosts of her past. It all begins quietly. Mariah, ever the composed daughter of Sharon Newman, has been navigating her life with a sense of purpose. She's focused on her career, her personal relationships, and carving a place for herself in a family known for its drama. But under the surface, unresolved pain simmers. A chance encounter with an old acquaintance unexpectedly stirs memories she thought she had buried. Scenes of her childhood flash before her eyes, moments filled with confusion, neglect, and the haunting sense of being abandoned at her most vulnerable. This storyline gives viewers a rare glimpse into Mariah's inner world. Known for her courage and unyielding optimism, Mariah now faces a side of herself that's raw and fragile. The trauma she endured as a child, compounded by years of being caught in the chaotic whirlwind of the Newman and Abbott families, resurfaces in ways that are both heartbreaking and revealing. The writers craft these moments with sensitivity, ensuring Mariah's pain is neither sensationalized nor diminished. Instead, it is presented with an authenticity that resonates deeply with the audience. The catalyst for Mariah's emotional journey comes during a seemingly ordinary family gathering. As conversations flow around the dinner table, a particular comment triggers a memory. The camera lingers on Mariah's expression, her eyes glossing, lips tightening, fingers unconsciously clutching her napkin. It is a masterful moment of silent storytelling. Without uttering a word, the audience can feel the years of hurt and confusion rushing back, a tidal wave threatening to drown her in its weight. Seeking solace, Mariah retreats to a quiet space, reflecting on her past. Here, the narrative takes a bold step. Through a series of flashbacks, viewers are transported to Mariah's formative years. We witness scenes that shaped her resilience. A young girl feeling unseen by those who should have protected her, moments of self-doubt, and instances where her trust was broken. These memories are interspersed with present-day Mariah, highlighting the stark contrast between who she was and who she has become. It is a poignant reminder of the strength required to survive and the courage needed to confront one's demons. Mariah's journey is further complicated by her relationships with those around her. Sharon, ever the protective mother, senses that something is amiss but struggles to penetrate the walls Mariah has built. The tension between mother and daughter is palpable, marked by a mixture of love, frustration, and unspoken fear. Mariah's partner, Tessa, also plays a crucial role, offering patience and unwavering support. Their dynamic adds depth to the storyline, illustrating that healing is rarely a solitary endeavor. It requires empathy, understanding, and a willingness to walk beside someone through their pain. One of the most compelling aspects of this arc is how it intertwines with Genoa City's broader narrative. Mariah's trauma recall doesn't exist in isolation. It ripples through her interactions with friends, colleagues, and even rivals. Each scene is layered with tension as Mariah navigates her emotions while maintaining the life she has built. The writers cleverly use these interactions to reveal not only her vulnerability, but also her resilience. Even in moments of despair, there is a glimmer of hope, a reminder that trauma may shape her, but it does not define her. Therapy sessions also play a pivotal role in this storyline. Mariah begins to work with a counselor, opening up about experiences she has long suppressed. These sessions are depicted with realism and respect, highlighting the challenges of confronting painful memories, while also emphasizing the importance of professional support. Through these dialogues, viewers witness Mariah's gradual acknowledgement of her trauma and her tentative steps toward healing. The show does not shy away from the difficult truths, presenting her journey as one of courage, honesty, and self-discovery. Adding to the drama, unexpected triggers continue to test Mariah's composure. A confrontation with a figure from her past threatens to unravel the progress she has made. In a gripping scene, emotions flare, tears are shed, and raw memories surface with an intensity that leaves both Mariah and viewers reeling. It is a testament to the show's commitment to portraying trauma with depth and nuance, avoiding melodrama while delivering emotionally charged moments that are impossible to ignore. Throughout this arc, Mariah's growth is evident. She begins to understand that acknowledging her past does not weaken her. Rather, it strengthens her. By facing her trauma head-on, Mariah models resilience for viewers, illustrating that healing is a journey, a series of small, meaningful steps toward reclaiming one's life. Her vulnerability becomes a source of empowerment, allowing her to reconnect with her family, fortify her relationships, and embrace her identity with newfound clarity. The emotional impact of this storyline is amplified by stellar performances from the cast. The nuanced expressions, the tremor in a voice, the hesitation before a tearful confession, all combine to create moments that linger long after the episode ends. It's a reminder that soap operas, often dismissed for their melodrama, possess the ability to tackle profound, real-world issues with empathy and insight. In conclusion, Mariah Copeland's journey through trauma on The Young and the Restless is a compelling exploration of pain, memory, and resilience. It is a storyline that resonates because it mirrors the complexities of real life, where the past can haunt the present, yet courage, love, and support offer a path toward healing. As viewers watch Mariah navigate these turbulent waters, they are invited to witness not just the struggles of a character on screen, but the universal human experience of confronting our deepest fears and emerging stronger on the other side. This week, Genoa City is not just a backdrop for drama, it becomes a landscape of emotional reckoning. And at its center stands Mariah, a young woman whose strength and vulnerability make her journey unforgettable, a testament to the enduring power of storytelling on the young and the restless.